Good morning, good morning, good morning. If you're in the UK, or good afternoon, good evening, if you're anywhere else in the world. Thank you for joining us for On the Couch, the podcast for creative professionals everywhere. As you probably know by now, we're part of the Creatives Group, a select network of creative professionals to help grow, support and develop your creative business. I'm Melanie Perry.
And I'm Julie Hyde-Mew.
This is On the Couch. And Julie, who is our guest today?
And it's Geoff Cockwill. Hi, Geoff.
Hi both, how are you?
Very well. Nice for you to join us this morning.
Well, thank you for having me.
Geoff, you're the founder and director of Silvertip Films. So you have obviously your own television production company and film company. You produce videos, corporates, music videos, live events, actors, show reels, practically everything. And you also do live streams for music and other events. And you edit on the go, I hear. So you're a very good person to know for people who want that kind of stuff. And that sounds very technical because I'm also a television producer and I know more or less the basics of live streaming. But when it comes to editing on the go, tell us about that because I'd like to hear about that. How do you do that?
Okay, so we started live streaming a couple of years ago, really, kind of when, the pandemic started and could see that, things were going to start getting restricted. So I thought, maybe it's time to get into the live streaming because I think that will be something, because we did a lot of live events and, they just disappeared. So maybe there's a way that you could still put stuff on and stream it, even if you can't have an audience there. So we've done quite a bit of that, but also what we've done a few times is use that equipment, but not actually stream it out anywhere because as things opened up again, people wanted to be able to have try to encourage people to go to an event rather than just sitting at home. But what we would do is set it all up. So we had all the cameras, being fed into the streaming live edit desk. I could talk to the camera guys and we'd cut it live and then there'd be an edit done that could then be almost immediately uploaded or the next day, for people who were going to watch online. But then, it kind of meant that if you didn't go to the event, you had to wait to see the stuff. So you had that choice of go to be there and then, or you had to wait for it. So yeah, it's good fun doing the edit, on the go at the time and live because obviously, it's done and you don't have to do, spend a couple of days afterwards doing it. Although sometimes we will do a tidy up edit on things. But yeah, it's great fun and being able to see all the cameras, in a live situation like that, being able to talk to the guys and say, get me this, get me that, and get ready for this and all that kind of things is great. I love doing it. It's really good fun. And once you get over the...
Sorry, I interrupted you.
I was just going to say, once you get over the fear of it, we still have a bit of fear, but that's part of the fun, I think.
Yeah. Well, we learned a lot. We all learned a lot during lockdown when we just had to make do, didn't we?
Yeah.
And I think it's, amazing, Geoff, and it's something that I look at you and I'm a bit starstruck and a bit or inspired because when I've seen your setup on some of your posts and on your website and just looking at it brings me out in a rash. It's like I don't think I would have the nerve to do what you do because I think the stress I would just be under the table somewhere. But having to sort of literally keep control of everything happening at the same time, say that communication skill in itself to make sure the guys are giving you the things that you want and you can just do it on the hoof. And I would be terrified. I'd be terrified that the tech would break down. That must be is that your biggest fear? Is that if the tech goes down, what do you do?
Yeah, it is. It's happened a few times. Everyone knows technology doesn't always, work in your favour. And we were doing something for school last year, and one of the cameras dropped out, and so we had a mad panic to replace the cable. We have really long HDMI leads, run it down, and fix it. That sorted it. And then we did something for another event where you want to be on Ethernet, basically be cabled because you get a more reliant internet signal. But we were at a school and they wouldn't let us go on the Ethernet, so they said you'll have to use the Wi-Fi, and we were like, well, we'd rather not, it's not great. And we said, just warning you, might well drop out, it's not completely stable. And of course it did drop out, we lost some of the stream, but we obviously kept the edit because it's kind of two slightly separate things on it all. So that creates a bit of a panic, and that's why there's if it's anything over like a single camera on a stream. You know, I have usually my colleague Mike with me, so that, you know, the camera guys are doing their thing and we're monitoring the stream. So, you know, I'm editing, and then he'll be running any kind of technical side, dealing with any problems that arise. Or, you know, if we've got like audience engagement stuff, sometimes when we've done things on Facebook, you can ask questions and get answers back and do polls and things like that. So he'll run that side of things as well.
Yeah.
Because it's just too, you know, it's one thing to be talking to the guys and saying, right, get this, get that, you know, cutting it and, you know, working out the best way to kind of present everything to people watching. You don't need to be dealing with, you know, panics and, you know, then replying to people that might be asking questions at an event or something like that.
So much to think about. Well, hats off to you, Geoff, because I'd say
Thanks.
Yeah.
But you must have a big team then. How big is your team?
So day to day, it's me and Mike works with me. So, you know, we handle most of the stuff that we do. And then depending on what the project is, you know, we bring in other guys. So it's a chap called Freddie that we work with a lot. Freddie's a great DOP and director as well. He's a really good gimbal camera operator as well. So we've done a couple of things together recently. And then we've got a guy called Frank that we work with from time to time. Martin, who's also a really good DOP as well, and a good gimbal operator as well. A chap called Harry that comes in when we need them. And then there's other people like drone operators and specific sound guys for events. So, you know, it's you know, we're always busy, but there's not always enough stuff. You know, I couldn't employ a sound guy all the time, for example. So, you know, we bring people in, you know, when we need them. But having a kind of team and a network of people that you can call upon and rely upon is so important. And I feel like the people I work with now are the best you know, group of people I've ever had. So it's great, and we get on and we're friends, and we've all got similar you know, interests and things. So, you know, I think that's really important to, you know, to have fun at your job, but to know that you can rely on these people. Like I can send Mike out to shoot for me and he'll do a good job on it, and, you know, I can get Freddie to do the same. And, you know, because sometimes I can't be at places, you know, I've got another shoot or things with the family or something like that. So yeah, I've got a good team that I work with.
Yeah, I think that's essential. We're going to talk a little bit more about values a little bit later on in the show, because it, you know, if you do build a like-minded team, it's so important. You know, if you share the same values, you're going to get that cohesive team a lot quicker.
Yeah.
Just talking about your influences. I mean, obviously you've been doing video production and filmmaking for a very long time. What inspired you to become a filmmaker and do what you do?
Well, I've told this story a few times. You might have heard this before, Melanie, but when I was 11 or 12, I watched Terminator 2 at a friend's house on VHS. That's how long ago it was. And we were too young, we shouldn't have watched it. But I couldn't believe what I was seeing. And I became really interested in, you know, in Schwarzenegger, and wanted to watch, you know, more of his films. But then, you know, this name came up on stuff, James Cameron, and I thought, who's this? And then the True Lies film came out, another film that they did together. And I wanted to know more about, you know, who makes this stuff and how does it happen? And then so I became really interested in that side of things, and, you know, directing and, you know, effects and stuff like that. And then around that sort of time as well, we used to go on holiday to America every couple of years to see some friends out there. And we borrowed a video camera from my granddad. And on the first trip, my mum did all the filming. And then when we got home, we had lots of footage of feet walking around, because she'd do, you know, lift it up, turn it off, bring it back down, turn it on again by accident. So when we went out a couple of years later, I said, I think I'll do the filming. And so, you know, I really enjoyed doing that. And obviously it's just a holiday video, but it was great fun doing that. And then, you know, video stuff was starting to kind of, you know, develop a bit. And, you know, we got to do a bit of stuff at school, even if, you know, it's just shooting on massive VHS cameras and stuff like that. And then, you know, got to do more in college and things. So it all kind of developed from there, really. So, you know, my main influence really was, you know, the James Cameron stuff, and then just developing a big love of film from all of that, really.
Yeah, and your love of film has gone on to you hosting a film festival in your hometown.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. So yeah, the Horsham Film Festival's in its 4th year now. And when I had my office in Cranley a long time ago, about 15 years ago probably, thought about doing a film festival then. You know, because at the time I was doing, you know, sort of doing narrative work, and I still do a bit of it now, but not so much, you know, like you did Scooch, and you know, I don't do as much of that now, but I've always that's what my background was, and I always loved that kind of stuff. And so I had this idea for a film festival, but it just, how do you do it? It just kind of wasn't feasible. And you know, as you both know, stuff gets in the way, and life and work, and you know, you have these ideas and they just kind of fall away. And then in 2019, the Horsham Council here were running the Horsham District Year of Culture event. So it was a year-long event, and it was to celebrate dance and art and music and all sorts of things within the district here. And you could essentially pitch for something. So this is what we want to put on. Can we have some funding money? So I said to Mike, I've got an idea for a film festival. So it came back all these years later. So we developed the idea, and we put it on. Well, we pitched, I should say. We got the funding, which was great. Ran the event, and you know, when we started it, we don't know what we're going to get here, but it went so well, and we had a brilliant event. All the films that came in were great. You know, we put on an awards night. People really enjoyed it, and it was just brilliant. You know, so we thought, right, well, we'll run it again. And then we did the second year, and it went really well, and we managed to get our awards night in about a month or so before lockdown came into effect. So it kind of feels weird looking back at it and thinking it was, you know, like mid-February in 2020. So we were quite lucky to get it in. And then we wanted to run it for a third year. And then of course all the lockdown stuff, it kind of, you know, affected things. And, you know, in the end we couldn't do the event with an in-person thing. So we live streamed it, and we ran the films out. People could watch it all online. But you know, obviously lockdown stuff affected everyone, and a lot of filmmakers said we wanted to enter a film, but we can't finish it. We can't get people in a room together, or you know, we're not allowed to go near anyone. So I think there was quite a lot of, you know, abandoned and unfinished films, you know, during that year. So you know, it did go well, and you know, we got some more great stuff in, and then we wanted to do it the fourth year, but we weren't sure how we were going to do it because there's no funding for it. So it's kind of, you know, we run it off of, you know, the submission fees that you get, and some, you know, any sponsorship we might get. But the response to this year has been great, and I think people are, you know, I think people want to do stuff again and get out and about and things. So yeah, it's been going really well. We've had a really good number of entries so far, and we're busy planning stuff for our awards night, and we've got 4 nights of screenings for the films as well prior to the awards night, which will be really good.
So can anybody enter from all over the world, or is it just limited to British filmmakers?
Yeah, it's British stuff really, and then there's always been a bit of confusion, and we've tried to make this clear, but we have what we call the Your District Award. So that's for films that are made in and / or about the Horsham District. So, you know, when we started with being in partnership with the Year of Culture, which is obviously, like I said, celebrating everything going on in our area, we thought, well, we'll put the film festival on, we'll take stuff from everywhere, but this award can be specifically for people who are here. So we still get messages from people now saying, I'd like to enter, but I made my film in Birmingham. Can I enter it? And we're like, yes, of course you can. Just don't put it in your district, you know. So hopefully it's, well, I was going to say, hopefully it was clear, but, you know, there's still a bit of confusion about it. But yes, you know, we take stuff from everywhere. We haven't kind of opened it up to, you know, places from, you know, the rest of the world yet, because it's partly, you know, it takes time to watch everything, and you want to watch them all, you know, in full and not skim through them. But, you know, obviously the more entries you get, the longer it takes to watch everything. So it's kind of a bit of a balancing act to, you know, get as many as we can in, but not go mad. Because like in the first year when it was free to enter, we got about 500 entries. Wow. Which we were like, wow, this is going great. The numbers keep rising. And then we were like, oh, we have to watch all of these at some point, you know. So that took an awful long time to do. And it was great. And actually, you know, it was really hard to pick stuff because there was so much good stuff in it. But, you know, we said, right, well, because we didn't have funding in the second year, you know, and most festivals, as you guys know, they charge for submission and stuff. So we put a fee to it, and then that kind of reduced the number of entries a little bit, but made it more manageable for us, because obviously it's not our full-time thing, and we're running the business as well. So, you know, it has to fit in around that, you know, to an extent. But yeah, so hopefully if we run again next year, yeah, maybe we can look to open it up to, you know, further afield around the world.
Well, you have to charge for submissions, because otherwise you're just doing all that work for nothing.
Well, that's it, really. Yeah, you're right, Julie. You know, and you know, a lot of festivals, you know, maybe they don't have sponsorship, and you know, we've been very lucky this year to get some money from local businesses, which is, you know, part of doing it is to work with the community and you know, develop these relationships with the businesses and help promote them as part of what we're doing, and you know, get their name out there. And it's nice to have that kind of community feel to things. But yeah, you can't run a film festival for free, and you know, for it to cost you and you know, not bring anything in. So yeah, I think, you know, a small fee to enter is kind of expected.
And it's not
a lot,
really, is it, Geoff? It's not a huge fee. I mean, some of the bigger film festivals, you know, I mean, I've nearly bankrupted myself on Scooch because I did get a bit carried away. It's like paying for a wedding. Oh, I'll just have one of those. I'll just do that one. I'll just do that one. And then you suddenly realise, oh my God, I've actually spent more than I should have. But I mean, some of the because we've entered Scooch for like a range of festivals all over the place. And you know, some bigger, some smaller, some IMDb qualified, you know, and we did put it into the UK Film Festival, which is huge, as you know. And although we didn't get anywhere with it, we still got on the top 30 long list.
Right, that's
festival,
great.
Which for me was actually, oh my God, I'm on a list of that. For a festival of that calibre, that's kind of my crowning glory. Although we didn't get through, that is one of my most cherished emails. But they're quite expensive. You know, some of them are like £40, £50 a pop. To enter. So, you know, you've got to be careful if you're going to.
I remember. Yeah, that's it. You need to ensure that you've got some money set aside for it. You know, I remember when I was doing my short films a long time ago, you know, and you know, you'd have the budget to make the film, and then you go and start looking at festivals, and you'd be like, oh, actually, I need double that to be able to enter anything. So yeah, that's a really good tip, I think, to make sure you set some money aside for your marketing, basically, afterwards. Yeah.
Who judges these? Obviously, you must be a judge. Do you have a panel of judges?
Yeah, so I've judged on the panel every year, and then in our first 2 years, we had the guy who was the editor of one of the local newspapers judge. So we were filming like a weekly video version of the newspaper with him, and he was kind of a bit of a personality around here, so that was really good. And then we had a friend who was a TV producer in the first and second year as well, and a guy who was a theatre writer and director as well. Nick Moat, he's involved again for this year. And then for this year, we've been really lucky to get a chap called Ray Holman, who was the costume designer on Doctor Who, Broadchurch, Sherlock, Fleabag, tons of stuff. So he's come on board as a judge as well, which is really exciting. So, you know, it's nice to have, you know, kind of industry professionals as well on there. I mean, you know, I suppose you'd say I am as well, but, you know, someone who's got a broadcast credits to their name and things like that's really good. So, yeah.
Yeah, you would need more people on the judging panel because, you know, we've entered Scooch, haven't we, Melanie?
We have.
And, you know us. You know, so...
so he's a part of
Yeah, that's it. It needs to be... if it was just me judging it would just be my friends winning, and you know, I'd probably I'd sweep the festival with my own film. You know, yes, it counts that as a comedy and drama and a documentary at the same time. You know? I need people to help balance it all out a little bit. Yeah,
well, we're keeping our fingers crossed because we'd love to see Scooch like on a big screen over. It's been on the big screen when we premiered in High Wycombe, but it'd be lovely to see it like in a cinema.
Well, that's one of the things for this year. So we're at the Everyman Cinema in Horsham, and if people know the Everyman chain, it's a bit more upmarket than, you know, like Cineworld or wherever. You know, you go in and you've got sofas that you sit at, and you know, they'll take your order before the film for any drinks and sweets and stuff like that. and it's really nice. And really the only complaint that we had on the festival in the last few years was that at the awards night, we only showed the winning film in each category. We showed a clip of each shortlisted film, but with films up to 15 minutes and you're showing 20 to 30 on a night, you can't show that many 15-minute films. It would be a 6-hour awards night. So people said, it'd be great if you could do something to show the films in full. And of course, it all comes down to money as well, and what's available at the venue and things like that. So the Everyman have been, really good to say you can show films in full, on the nights leading up to this. And I think that's one of the things that's exciting for people, to have their film play on a cinema screen. Yeah. So, and it's great to see that reaction as well when, we've been looking out at the audience when films are played and stuff, and to see, particularly the younger entrants, because that's one of the things, we want to try to get more kids involved in it. And when, their film comes up on the screen, their faces light up. That's been brilliant doing that.
I remember when we did our premiere of Scooch in High Wycombe, it was the first time it had been shown to an audience that weren't our friends and family. People that we could, kill if they didn't like it.
Every time the audience laughed, Millie and I were digging each other in the ribs. We couldn't believe the reaction.
No, but before it went up,
we thought it was funny, but you never know if other people think it's funny.
And I've never been so terrified in my life. I tell you, before it went on, my nerves and the adrenaline was just pumping. And I was like, oh my God. And when the relief, Geoff, I can't tell you the relief when I heard that first laugh go. I literally kind of went.
I've been there when I used to arrange screenings for the films I made years ago. It's a terrifying thing to put something out there that you've worked on and believe in, and to hope that people like it. So when you get that laugh and things work, it's such a big relief. And I remember in the first year of the film festival, one of the films that was entered was a kind of thriller horror type thing. It was called Prey, and it was played like this guy was stalking a woman, but then there was a twist and she was kind of a vampire type thing. And I was standing on the stage and at the side watching it play, and then I suddenly remembered, you get this real big jump scare at the end where you see her face. And I thought, it's too late now. It's playing. We can't stop it. And it wasn't like an 18 rated. It was like a PG scare, But it happened, and people screamed in the audience. And I looked out, and the guy who'd made the film, Eric, he was just sitting there, and he had this big grin on his face. And I just thought, he's loved that because he's got the reaction he wanted. So that was very fun.
It is seeing people enjoying your content. There's no feeling like it, is there? Really, and that you're kind of buzzing off of their feeling. So talking about, touched on the chap who's done a lot of the costumes for Doctor Who and various other things. You've got a real strong love of Doctor Who, haven't you?
That's right.
And Julie has never seen a single episode of Doctor Who. Can you believe
really?
She didn't have to tell you that. She did not have to tell you that.
I'm very sorry, Julie, but I can't talk to you anymore now.
No, I do have an excuse, Geoff. I grew up in South Africa, and it was still apartheid then, and there was an equity ban against us, so we weren't exposed to any British films or television.
Right.
And so I'm now living in the UK, and people talk about Blue Peter and they talk about Doctor Who, and I haven't.
You haven't,
She's like, what she's missing, is she? I'm going to tie her to a chair and force her to sort of watch back episodes.
I'll do a list of 5 that you should watch.
Oh, okay. Do that.
But you have got, your love of Doctor Who's turned into a real passion, though, hasn't it? And so much so that you actually have a podcast.
That's right.
Tell us a bit more about that.
Well, I've loved Who since the late 80s. When it was on telly with Sylvester McCoy and stuff, and I remember seeing the other Doctors as well. Before all of that, and of course then the show finished, and it came back with the TV movie, and then that didn't kind of go anywhere. Then it came back with Christopher Eccleston in 2005. I've always loved it. I think it's a show that is limitless in its possibilities and its creativity. And I think the Doctor is unlike any other character out there. You know, there's no kind of violence, and you know, it's just using intellect and kindness basically to win. And of course, spaceships and monsters and all of that stuff is great. And then during so a few years ago, I became kind of quite active on Twitter with the kind of Doctor Who world on there. And I'm in a group chat with people there's a guy in South America, a guy in Australia. There's literally people all over the world, and we talk every day in there. And then there was a chap called Paul in there who's based in the West Country over here. And he does e-learning projects that involve video and, you know, graphics and all that kind of stuff. And we connected on LinkedIn, and during lockdown, we got chatting about various things. And I also love the Marvel films, and he told me he'd never seen any of them, or he'd seen 2 or something. I said, "Oh, boy, this is a shocker." And but we had our Doctor Who connection as well. I said, "Maybe, you know, we can't do much at the moment. You should start watching the Marvel films in order." And then I can't remember which one of us it was, but one of us said, "Sounds like there's a podcast in there coming from 2 different corners, one who's seen it all, you know, multiple times, and one who hasn't, and seeing what we think." So we did the Marvel one, and it went really well, and you know, people actually listened to it, and they, you know, we'd say, "What do you think of this film we're watching next?" They send in comments and stuff like that. And so it went really well. And then as we were sort of getting towards the end of, you know, the Marvel stuff to be able to watch, to do weekly releases, we said, "Well, we're really enjoying this, you know, let's carry it on. Maybe we should just do a Doctor Who one, which is our, you know, main big passion." And it tied in with the new series starting. So we did that, and, you know, we picked up new listeners. And then I had a vague connection with an actress who was in the show. So I asked her if she'd come on as a guest, and she said, yeah. And then tweeted Ray Holman, who I mentioned earlier. And I just said, "Ray, would you come on and have a chat?" And he said, yeah. And then it's quite amazing when you start just reaching out to people, and they'll say yes. And some people say no, of course, they're too busy, or, you know, they're too big for it, or whatever. But it's gone, you know, way beyond kind of what we expected, you know. So, you know, people actually listen to it, which is incredible. And I was at Comic-Con earlier in the year, but the one where I met Jodie Whittaker, which was amazing. And a lady came up to me and she said, "Excuse me, are you Geoff from Who Corner to Corner podcast?" And I said, "Yeah, I am." And she said, "Oh, I thought I recognised you from Twitter. I listen to your podcast all the time." And I thought, this is mad. Someone has recognised me, you know.
Fame at last.
Well, yeah. I was like, who set this up? But it was lovely to then, you know, talk not, you know, specifically about the podcast, but about the show and stuff in general. And then, you know, the guests that we've had on it, and like I said earlier before we you know, went on air, as it were, you know, we chatted to one of the show directors recently, which was really inspiring. We've chatted to, you know, costume, you know, we've chatted to actors as well. But I think in life, you just have to you have to grab any opportunity that comes. So I was doing some work with Freddie that I mentioned earlier at Chichester Theatre recently, and I didn't realise I got there, but the lead in the show was an actor named Sam Spruill, and he was the main baddie in the recent series of Doctor Who. And I said to Mike and Freddie, I was like, "Oh my God, you guys aren't going to believe who this guy is." And they were like, "Well, we don't know. We don't watch Doctor Who." And I said, "I've got to tell him how good he was in it." And then plucked up the courage to go up to him, and they were getting ready for the show. And just wanted to say, you know, I thought you were fantastic. And he seemed really kind of touched to hear that. And then we had a chat, talked about kids and stuff. And I mentioned the podcast. He said, "Oh, if you'd like me to come on for a chat, you know, I will." So we sorted it out, and, you know, it was brilliant. So yeah, it's gone fantastic. You know, we've got some more guests lined up, and, you know, we do a mix of that, and, you know, episode reviews, and, you know, audio drama reviews and stuff like that. But I wanted the show to appeal to not just fans of Doctor Who. So, you know, for example, the director's episode that I mentioned, you know, it's really interesting. I mean, he made a short film where he made a number of them, and then he did one in particular that caught the attention of the Doctor Who producers, and they asked him if he'd direct half of the recent series. And so, you know, that was his first professional, you know, directing credit. That's incredible. You know, it's like, you know, someone seeing Scooch and saying, do you guys want to come and do this on TV? I mean, you know, there is that, but
that
you
would
never
be good.
Putting it out there. But, you know, you never know.
No, you don't. And I think we're going to have a little clip of one of your episodes just now so that people can have a little listen, see what they think. And obviously we'll have the details of where you can listen going across the screen in just a moment.
Okay.
I did. I did make up the navy coat.
Did you?
Without permission. So we made the navy coat. When I sent a picture of it to Chris Chibnall, I said, I've got it, by the way. He sent a bonkers episode 3 in. And I remember first reading it saying, you need a different visual reference for the Doctor.
You need a new coat. Yeah.
Guess what we've got?
So was that your favorite podcast episode, Geoff?
Yeah, it was one of them definitely. Well, they all are really. You know, it's incredible that people will listen to the stuff, and it's incredible that people from the show will take the time to, you know, have a chat with us and do that. So yeah, you know, the whole thing still kind of blows my mind really. But talking to Ray was fantastic. You know, we thought maybe he might give us an hour of his time, and he ended up talking for 2 hours. And, you know, we had such a good time doing it. And then, you know, I thought, well, maybe I could approach him about judging for the film festival, and he was up for that. And he was just such a kind and generous guy, but also just really interesting. You know, he's designed costumes for, you know, 3 Doctors and tons of creatures, and, you know, Benedict Cumberbatch's stuff in Sherlock, and, you know, Fleabag, and, you know, big stuff. And he's won awards for it all. But, you know, he was just really down to earth, and he was just like, you know, like we are, just chatting normally. So yeah, it was really good. And I think
get him on the couch, Geoff. He sounds like a good guest.
Yeah, I
talking about his costumes. We haven't had a costume person.
No, and he's like, you know, you find people, you know, in TV and film who like to give back a little bit. So, you know, Ray does quite a bit for, you know, the arts uni in Wales where he's based, you know, with their costume department, things like that. And, you know, just putting that little bit back out there. And, you know, he's been a great kind of, you know, ambassador for the show to do interviews for the magazine and stuff like that. And, you know, so yeah, he's really good. So yeah, it was a pleasure. And I think once you've got a couple of people like that, so we had Bhavnisha Palmer, who was the actress that I knew. Once you've had a couple of people, it starts to open doors. And I think when you've got that kind of, you know, kudos by people having done stuff, more people will go, oh, okay, well, you know, they must be all right. So we'll go and have a chat. And we like to be, you know, we're very positive about the show. And, you know, you both might know, and anyone listening, there can be a lot of negativity in fandoms for stuff, Star Wars, Star Trek, all of that. And we're not interested in that. And so, you know, we just talk, you know, with love about the show. And I think people like that as well. Yeah,
they do. It's proper fandom, isn't it? And the people who are getting involved with these kind of things, you know, it all builds on the show. You know, the more fans you've got tuning in and talking about the stuff that they love, you know, that actually boosts the show ratings. You know, the more, when we know we're in production, the more people that are talking about what you do, the better.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and you know, so I think for actors and you know, show crew as well to you know, engage with the fan audience, certainly these days is really important, because, you know, so for example, Mandat Gill, who's in the show, she's on stage in London at the moment. I see every day people on Twitter, they've gone to see the show that she's in, but because they like her and her work on the show and the way she interacts with people. And if you were closed off to people, that doesn't work. And of course, you know, you could be a bit cynical about it and say, well, you know, you engage with people to, you know, keep your career going. And there was, of course, there's an element of that, but, you know, some actors don't. And, you know, I think it's really important to, you know, put that time in with people and reach out, because they're the ones that will come back to watch you again and again on stuff.
Yeah, so you live stream your podcast?
No, we record it. We pre-record it, and then we might make some edits and stuff. So like a couple of weeks ago, we chatted to 2 authors who wrote episodes for the show, and then have subsequently turned those show scripts into novels for a range that come out. So we were going to put them out as 2 episodes, and then I thought, actually, we've asked them basically the same questions, so I cut it into different chunks. We had one, then the other, then one, then the other, and kind of did it like that, which I think made for a bit more of an entertaining and engaging episode. So we thought about live streaming it, and like we are now, we see everyone when we chat, but sometimes the signal's bad, and someone's image is terrible, but the recording is, the sound is okay, or they are not necessarily camera ready. They might just be in their tracksuit, relaxing at home when they do it. So I'm not saying any names particular, me and Paul, but we haven't yet kind of looked at putting it out, as a live stream video version or anything. So, but yeah, we might do at some point. Yeah.
So, talking about behaviour of actors and behaviour of people, what would your top tips be for anybody aspiring to get it into the industry, video production, media production? What would your top tips? 3 top tips be?
So 3 top tips. I think my number 1 would just be just do it. I see quite a lot of people online who are, aspiring filmmaker in their bio, or practicing writer or whatever, and I just think just go and do it. And I think there's a fear, like a bit like we sort of touched on earlier, fear to do something and put it out there in case people don't like it. And not everyone is going to like everything. It just isn't possible. But you have to just kind of, just go and make your film, and it's easier than ever, as you guys
it's so
know.
easy now. Because before you had to buy a camera,
yeah,
you had to buy an audio unit, you had to buy a edit suite, you had to go to an edit suite. Now you just need a phone.
Yeah, that's basically it. Yeah, and that was one of the things for the film festival. We wanted it to be open and appeal to anyone, and we specifically said, we don't care if you shoot on Blackmagic cameras or Red or on your phone. We want good films. That's what we're interested in, to be engaged and to be moved by good stories. And so, a number of the entries that came in, across the years have been shot on phone, and, the sound is terrible, for example, but the idea is there, and it's, we've enjoyed it. And the whole point of that is, like I did with my films, okay, my sound wasn't very good. How do I make that better for the next time around? And you learn and you grow. So yeah, I think a top tip would be to just get out there and do something, whether it's on your own or in a group. And then I think another tip would be to start to, build up a team around you, people that you can rely upon and trust, and also have a good time with, because I think that's really important. And to not turn yourself into jack of all trades and master of none. So, for example, I can direct and shoot and edit, but I'm not a drone operator. There's people who can do that better than me, and sound. I can mic people up, but I don't want to get involved in booming stuff and doing all of that. There's people who can do that better than me. So, to have that team of people that you can rely upon. And I think also another tip would just be to watch stuff and go deeper on things, and kind of find out and discover the area that you really like, whether it might be you want to act, or you've got a passion for sound design. And there's so many things these days, so many great kind of behind the scenes documentaries on stuff that can show you into the world of filmmaking that like when we were all younger, that stuff was not around as much. Like I said, when I watched Terminator 2, who are these people? And I wish back then I had something like, I've just been watching Light and Magic on Disney Plus this week, which is all about industrial light and magic, and James Cameron is in it. And it's all about, how they made Star Wars and the effects and the digital revolution and stuff. And it's amazing. But there was nothing like that when I was 12 and starting to get into things, or there was, but it wasn't as freely available as and easy to access it as it is today. So I would say, yeah, watch stuff, discover how things are made, feed that kind of that curiosity. Like, I love finding out, how an effect was achieved or how they made a physical effect or something like that. It still fascinates me today.
Me too. And as you say, there's never been a better time to learn because there's so much information freely available.
Yeah.
Whether it be on America, there are streaming channels that will give you the real lowdown, like Disney Plus. And one of the things that I absolutely love, I don't know if you've come across like BBC Maestro. There's another company, not sure who it is, who does Masterclass. And one of them, I think the Masterclass one is like a £15 subscription. Yeah. That you pay monthly, and then you get access to loads of celebrities who teach you about whatever it is. And BBC Maestro, you can pay I think it's £80. So if it's about £80, you can get a masterclass by James Cameron about directing.
Yes,
the trailer is just awesome for that.
I've done that one. Yeah, I did that one. The Cameron one was excellent. I also watched the Bob Iger one. He was the CEO of Disney until very recently. Yeah. And his was very interesting because he talked about his journey, but how he led things. Yeah. And he kind of shows that you can get to a position like that, still have a lot of creativity, and not be an awful person doing it. And so that was really interesting. So Masterclass is well worth looking at, and also like Disney Plus, I think has been absolutely brilliant for. Making of stuff. Like all the Marvel films have these hour-plus documentaries come out about the production. The Light and Magic one is really good. There's some great stuff about like the history of Disney stuff and Imagineering and all of that, which is not filmmaking per se, but it's fascinating that creativity as well. And it's a few years old now, but there's the documentary about the making of Avatar was a really good one. That was on the Blu-ray set. I think that was well worth watching. Yeah,
there's so much out there. I mean, Bob Iger, he was the CEO when I was at Disney. Throughout my time there, and he's such a lovely guy. Yeah, and Disney, it was a fantastic company to work for. They were really pioneering, and when they do the behind the scenes stuff, and the Imagineers are just phenomenal. That's and it's amazing. Fantastic to see the development of things all the way through. Yeah, but we've just about out of time now, so we're going to do our last little bit of our show, which is our values jam game. And Julie knows this is my favourite bit because these cards, Geoff, that my friend made, it's a business development tool really to get people talking and open up about their values, because when people talk about values, all the same rubbish comes out, like integrity, honesty. There's loads. I mean, values are just what's important to you. So they created this little game of cards with different values on and questions around each one to encourage a conversation. So I'm just giving these a bit of a shuffle, and I'll get you to pick a card, and then we'll just have a little chat to finish off with about what's on each card. So I'll ring my finger.
That one.
This one?
Yeah.
All right. What have we got?
I'm getting nervous now.
Oh, this is quite a good one for you, actually, Geoff.
Oh, okay.
Only because I know you. We have got family.
Okay.
So the value of family. So, and these are sort of quite odd questions. They get you thinking. But what does family mean to you, Geoff? What does the sort of family look, feel, and sound like when you think about family?
I suppose I could look at that in two ways. So my family, my son is here actually with me today because it's summer holidays. He's been really a good boy over there. But I work because I enjoy what I do and I love it, but I do it so that I can look after my family and, take the kids out and, buy their clothes and all that kind of stuff. And then, the family that I work with, like I've mentioned, the guys that shoot with me, whose company I enjoy. And I think, when you work, you don't often get to pick the people that you work with, and we can to an extent. You find people who on the same page as you and contribute good ideas, and like I said, whose company you enjoy. And I get to go out to work with people who I get to hang out with and enjoy their company, and I know they're going to do a good job for me.
So it's like an extended family, part of your tribe.
Yeah, absolutely, yeah.
When have you experienced a family feeling?
Probably actually with the film festivals stuff. Actually, that's been really nice to have had this group of people involved. Who've been presenting or helping run the show. Backstage or filming it. To make the video for the night, stuff like that, and to have been able to put something together that brought people from the local area and beyond together, and got our name out there as well, and just to kind of celebrate really in a way just filmmaking and us as a business and what we've managed to achieve as well. So that was really nice. So every year we've done it, it's been really special doing that.
Yeah, and I think that's it in a nutshell, isn't it? A family is just like a coming together, and belonging, and when people feel like they belong and they're in that environment, then people can do great things. And bringing together the community, we've seen it in lockdown. It's brought a lot of communities back together. Yeah, I think, which is a really lovely thing.
Yes, it's been really nice. Yeah.
Well, thank you, Geoff, so much for coming on the couch with us.
That's all right.
My
pleasure. Yeah, thank you very much, both of you. It's been really good.
Your details have been going across the screen, so if anybody would like to get in touch with Geoff for any video production, especially live streaming, because he is ace, and I do recommend him all the time.
Thank you.
If you're doing live streaming, Geoff is a person to know. And don't forget, if you are a filmmaker in the UK, you can still submit to the Horsham Film Festival. There is still time. You can submit on Film Freeway, and most filmmakers will know about that. So just go onto Film Freeway, find the Horsham Film Festival, submit your film. When's the deadline, Geoff?
September 16th.
September the 16th to get your entries in. So anybody who is involved with that already, good luck. And if you're thinking of submitting, good luck.
Yeah, please do. Yeah, I'd love to see your work.
Right, wonderful. And we will speak soon.
Thank you both. See you soon.
Bye, Geoff.
Bye.
Thanks a lot.
Bye.
Bye.